We are recording in now. Share my screen. This is our first podcast, October 11th, 2020. This is the Brothers Keepers. I'm Dylan. This is Micah. And this is DJ, the inspiration of it all. This podcast is to live DJ's legacy on through us and make sure that he's never forgotten. And for that, I'm going to read a monologue. It's called Jambalaya. Come along, dear friend. My home and my heart are yours. Young friends, sit. I have made some jambalaya. Leave your worry at the door. Share a meal, share a prayer. I have not long, but tonight I have all the time to laugh, to love, and to share. My jambalaya, my friend. Sit and tell me your story. Don't mind me. My time is short, but our friendship eternal. God has asked for me to visit. Yes, I am excited, but please, enough about me. Tell me, how is my jambalaya? Sit and relax. My home is your home, my friend. Can I, may I, be your brother in Christ? He has called me. He will call you too. And together us three will share some jambalaya, of course. But tonight, my dear brother, let's laugh, love, and be merry. I may be tired and ready for sleep, but your need is great. Brother, let's pray together one last time. Let's thank the Holy King for our time together, a merciful and gracious blessing to share this beautiful meal together. O Lord, thank you for this jambalaya. First brought me a new brother. Help us be the men you ask us to be, and look over my brother when my eyes shut. Amen. Stay, my brother. Share with me this jambalaya. All right. El Guapo, how's it going?
It is going very well. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be kicking off this podcast with you, man.
Yeah, man. I've been trying for weeks with different individuals, and nothing was working. I was like, well, I've been asking the wrong person. So it's got to be my best friend. So,
You got that right.
all right. So let's go in a little bit to why we want to start this podcast. It's like DJ, right?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's only correct. It only makes sense share share the story of someone who has had such an impact on you. You know, if someone has influenced your life so much that you are the person you are today because of what they did, it's only honoring. It's only correct to share what they did.
100%.
Uh,
So let's go into how we both met our beloved DJ. You want to start?
yeah, I met DJ a little bit when he worked in the kitchen at the camp I was working at, Cedar Springs. And we talked here and there, not a whole lot, a little bit. But I really got to know DJ when he became my roommate. And DJ and I lived together, and DJ is a unfiltered individual. So you know that whatever he's saying, DJ means in his heart.
Uh-huh.
If he says he loves you, you know he really means it. If he says you're being a dumbass,
He
really
definitely means it. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So that's really when I got to know DJ, and that's when I really got to know his heart was when he became my roommate. Sure.
And then you introduced me to DJ. Although I'll say I met him before you introduced me. Um,
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, you talked about him, so I knew that he existed. I knew that he was a good guy. I just remember it was lunch my second week into working at Cedar Springs, and We were seeing this, what looked like teddy bear of a guy sitting by himself at the lunch table. And I go up and I ask him, hey, do you mind if I sit? And he goes, of course I mind. Get out of here. And I was like kind of shocked. And I kept walking. And he's like, why did you take me seriously, man? I was just kidding. I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't sure. It's like, what's your name? I go, I'm Dylan. And he goes, well, I'm DJ. I'm like, your mic is DJ. He goes, your mic is Dylan. I'm like, yep. And that started our friendship. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was quite the character, that's for sure.
Certainly.
Yeah. Now, when was, I know there's more than one, but what would you say was the most impactful moment with him in your life?
The most impactful moment. That is a big question about a man who lives his life in impactful moments. But I would say there was a night when I'd kind of gotten home late and he was still awake. And he was at the table cleaning up dishes or something from dinner. He said, hey, while we have a few minutes together, how can I pray for you? What's one way I can help you through prayer this week? And I gave him a kind of a longish, general, roundabout, abstract prayer request about a really specific need in my life. But I did it in a really general, abstract way. He goes, okay, I can pray for that. And I will. He says, but you can also tell me what's really going on. And he said, because if you're more specific, the better I can pray for you. And I want to be able to help you. So then I kind of said, okay. And I kind of got real with him for a little bit. And it shows off the intentional mind that DJ has. You know, he's content with you to share as much as you want.
Absolutely.
But he does want to know you as deeply as he can, because then he can pray for you more. He can love you better. So he wants to know you. So that stuck out to me that night. Certainly.
Yeah, he truly, like when you say you know someone, he wanted to go above and beyond with that. He wanted to know your heart.
Certainly.
I think for me, again, it's so hard to pick one moment, but I guess what instigated DJ in my life being impactful was when he invited me over for dinner at your guys' place for the first time. And that's where I got the inspiration for the poem, Yet Jambalaya. And you and I had been having some rough times together as friends. Not sure if you want to go into that on your end, how you're feeling about me.
Well, there was definitely some tension.
Yeah.
I mean, when you work together a lot, you see each other a lot. And so you have a lot of laughs, but you also have a lot of fights. So,
and we can go into the fighting of our friendship a little bit later, but
yeah, no, there was definitely, our friendship was strained for sure. It was being stretched.
We were working long hours, doing hard manual labor, and it was hot. We're dehydrated. You know, life got to us, and eventually we got at each other. And DJ, I had gone to DJ actually asking for, help. What do I do? And that's when he invited me over for dinner. I didn't know you were actually going to be there either until I walk in and you're there. I'm like, shit. And then I realized it was an intervention. So, and I don't think we actually specifically had a conversation about what was going on. I don't think we needed to. I think at that point we both realized we were being dumbasses and we just needed to get over it, man up, and move on,
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, that was DJ. He was very, very wise. It's like he was all knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So let's go into a little bit more about the life of DJ. Obviously, you lived with him. Just tell me, what you know. He was a priest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. So DJ, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. DJ, he had been working a long time to become a priest. He was a member of the Christian Orthodox Church. No, Anglican.
Anglican.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anglican. Sorry. I always get them switched. And he had come up to Washington from Southern California, I believe, to plant a church up here in a city nearby where we worked. And DJ had done nearly all of the groundwork for that church. He really, that church exists because of the work DJ put in. But he never claimed credit for it. He never, wanted his picture up on the wall. Yeah, but he was working to become a priest, and nearly every day I came home, he was either praying, cooking, or he was writing a sermon. So that was how DJ spent his time, and I think it's one of the greatest accomplishments that DJ was able to become a priest before he left us.
Absolutely. He was definitely an instrument for the Lord. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was being used.
Yeah. Yeah. He really worked well at that camp too. He touched so many people's lives. People I didn't even think knew him that well. I've talked to. Um, I won't mention names, but they're still a little shocked that he's gone. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to get into too much detail, but can you tell me more about how he passed? What was going on there?
Yeah, so DJ found out near the end of summer, I think it was the end of summer, that he had a liver cancer. It was a really rare cancer. There's not a lot of people out there who get it, and there wasn't a lot of treatment options, really.
Right.
The only treatment options were still experimental, no proven results yet. And, cancer, there's no reason for getting it. DJ was not like a heavy drinker, anything like that, but he got this rare liver cancer, was diagnosed with it after some tests and some results. They gave him a few months to live, more or less. They looked into any experimental tests. Of the very few that there were, they wouldn't have helped his cancer, so he didn't qualify for those tests. So DJ knew from the start, pretty much from the start, because it was a rare form of cancer, he knew that he would either live due to divine intervention or he was on his way home, on his way back upstairs, as I like to say. And so they gave him a few months to live. About a month after that, they gave him 2 weeks, and then he died just a day after that. So it all happened quite quickly. They shortened their timeline really, really quickly, from a few months to a couple weeks to the next day. And this whole time, DJ didn't take a break. He was always writing sermons, studying in the scriptures, in the writings, and continued forward with pursuing his at that time it was his life goal, even before he was diagnosed, to become a priest. That was his next big
Mhm.
benchmark in life he was chasing after. And he just continued with that. He said, I'm not going to slow down, Micah, until I'm in the ground. That's what he told me. So
Sounds
that's
like him.
truly what he followed through. Yeah, that is DJ, certainly.
I didn't even know he'd been diagnosed. I had been friends with him on Facebook, but for whatever reason, his post notifying everyone that he had it, I didn't see. I didn't know until he called me after he'd already gone.
Yeah,
And that was rough. That was a rough call.
certainly. That is definitely, without a doubt, my biggest regret during this circumstance is that at that time you had finished working at Cedar Springs and you left back to Pullman for school. And then DJ got the diagnosis after you left. And I just kind of got caught up in it. Forgot to even notify you. Didn't even think about it. And then all of a sudden, the day after he died, it might have been the day of, I just realized it's like, oh my goodness. Dylan has no idea about even the diagnosis. And so, yeah, that was a rough phone call for me to try to give to you, to even try to explain like what's even going on, to try to, you know, process and, you know, talk out the emotion of what's
Right.
happened over the last month and a half. And for you to receive all that at once, that must have been a tough burden, and probably still.
I don't remember anything other than once he told me that he passed, I don't think I processed anything after that. I think we talked for like 30 more minutes. And I don't remember any of that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, again, like, you're not to blame. I don't think there's no blame to go there. So don't feel too bad about that. But again, it just makes you rethink life. And again, why I wanted to do this podcast and create this series. And DJ, as a man, what he taught me about being a man. And it's one of those things I'm still thinking back to conversations I've had with him. It's like, oh, he said that, and I totally didn't listen to him. I'm such an idiot. And if you were here right now, you'd say, yeah, you were an idiot. He just had that brutal, honest way of loving someone. And I think something that we should talk about is kind of how he helped us come closer as friends. I mean, you were my best friend since the 7th grade. I didn't think we could get closer. So, and each day we're striving to get closer. Want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So we had been friends for many years. And we were deep friends. We talked about deep things. We really got into it together, and we're living life together. But like we talked about, our friendship was strained. There was some tension. And I don't think our friendship had taken on the significance it has now.
Mhm.
I mean, it feels false to call you my friend.
Mhm.
It's only fitting to call you my brother,
Exactly.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say before DJ, pre-DJ days, we were really good friends.
Mhm.
We were best friends. After DJ, it took on a new significance. It took on a brotherhood.
Mhm.
But at this point, we've decided to live for each other,
Absolutely.
to look out for each other, to push each other, to fight for each other, to not let petty arguments get in the way.
I mean, they're still fun to have, but
Oh yeah, and they're still gonna happen. But
absolutely nothing.
DJ, yeah, DJ leads by example. He does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he challenged us, but he also loved on us. You know, he cooked for us, made meals for us. We went out and got pizza together, and we just have a ball. You know, DJ was always cracking jokes, always making us laugh, and he was intentional about what he talked with us about loving on us, about forgetting about the petty things, about having the bigger perspective to see how much we care about each other. And he opened our eyes to that. He opened our eyes to what it means to be brothers and to
Absolutely.
transition out of like a high school bromance into a more mature like brotherhood.
I just remember last night with all three of us in one room. Just knocked my mic. Um, I don't think we've laughed that hard in a long time. And it was just like, the one thing I take away from it was, again, how intentional it was, but just how honest it was, how comfortable it was, how safe it felt. You know, I could be free to grow and make mistakes in front of you guys. And I also remember both of you guys said, "Good night, love you, man," as I left your house. And the way you guys said it, and after, you know, all the time I've spent with you, I knew you guys meant it. And I think for men, right, it gets weird saying I love you all the time, right? Like you're not supposed to, there's boundaries, that sort of thing. But you need to choose yourself good role models, good friends, good people that you can lead and be led by. I don't think you can ever be stuck in the position of mentor ever. I don't think you should ever want that goal. You should always, like DJ always was very humble. He was very observant of things. And you don't get wise when you think you've learned it all. And I think when it comes to being a leader, to being a man, to go from boy to man, there has to be that realization of, I know more than I did yesterday, but there's still so much more I don't know. And it gives you kind of a humble grace when you interact with others, especially with, you know, the brothers that you have and that you've chosen, and the brothers you haven't chosen, you've been given, you know. I don't quite remember where I was going to go with that. You can take the mic now.
I mean, it made sense what you were saying. Just how DJ, he just really opens your eyes beyond a selfish perspective. You know, we all hold selfish perspectives in one way or another way or in many ways, and he just really opens up our eyes to the bigger things in life, to the truly important things in life. And then the way that affects us is we end up being, like you said, like we end up being brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not friends.
Not friends, yeah. No.
You are not my friend at all.
Thanks. So, for those of you who don't know, Micah just proposed. Congratulations. And for some unfortunate reason, my sorry ass has been asked to be his best man. So I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah. So going into that, it just reminded me of him talking about his wedding. He's all excited. He hadn't yet asked me to be his best man. Now, keep in mind, we promised each other in like, I think it was the 8th or 9th grade. that we would be each other's
Years
best
ago.
years
Yeah.
ago. And,
Like
you know,
six or more years ago. Yeah.
I had kept that in the back of my head, but he hadn't officially asked me. So it's like, okay, he's got older brothers, they're cooler than I am. So, maybe they're taking the seat at it. And he's talking about how he can only have friends and family go to this thing because of the stupid coronavirus. And he hadn't actually really like invited me yet. He hadn't, I was like, so where do I fall into that category? And he goes, friends, family? Nope. Whole different category. Yeah. You had me scared for a moment.
It's always fun when I have the opportunity to be in a position to totally mess with someone's reality or mess with what they're thinking.
You do it very well.
I don't always use that for good,
No.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, so with DJ on our mind, one second, we have to clear something on my computer. With DJ on our mind, let's talk about kind of this podcast a little more about what we want to do. Do you want me to start with that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I learned a lot. I was taught a lot when DJ was here, and then I learned a lot after he passed away, just upon reflecting, going through life without having him there. And something that I've noticed about our generation, even older people than us and younger people than Micah and I, when it comes to masculinity, there's a masculinity crisis spiritually. I noticed that there's a lot of weak men that act like boys. And something that I struggled with was, well, what defines someone as being weak as a man, right? And it was my last relationship that I was in. And one of the things that came up was that sometimes I didn't act masculine. And my ex couldn't give something specific. And it just kind of boggled my mind what she meant by that. And then, things happen. I'm single again. And, I'm kind of at a point in life when things were a little muddy, and then it hit me. It was like I wasn't taking ownership of things that I should be. I wasn't striving for a purpose. And I know Jordan Peterson talks about this, Jocko talks about this, several other people have had podcasts on these, but I didn't feel like there was enough younger people in the mix. And when you're living through it, it's different than when you come out of it. And, I'm fortunate enough to have parents, a father, a mother, friends like DJ, friends like Micah to, sometimes kick me in the ass when I need to. And also to relay things that I'm going through with. And there's a lot of societal stigmas around, what is a man? What isn't a man? Do men, women even exist anymore? Just a lot of horse dung surrounding that. And I realized that we just need to have an honest conversation about all the things that affect masculinity, from hobbies to dating to the theology of the body to brotherly love, what that looks like, living for your brother, and again, just anything and everything in between. And hopefully this podcast can go on for the next couple of years. I'm not expecting money from this. Would that be nice? Yes. Would sponsorships be nice? Yes. But I just hope that we can reach just one person out there that might be struggling with something that we've been through or going through, might go through. And I'm gonna have other guests on with Micah, and I just hope that this can be life changing. So,
Yeah.
Michael, what are your thoughts? What are your hopes? What are your wants out of this?
First off, I agree with everything you've said.
That's a first.
Yeah, it is. That's a first. I We have a big lack of male leadership. We have a lot of really tough guys who are saying that's the pathway to masculinity is, you know. Then we have a lot of overly sensitive or guys, who are saying, men need to be softer and things like that. And so there's a lot of confusion. And so I don't believe the answer is in either one of those. I think and I wouldn't even say there's a middle ground. I would say there's a different solution entirely. Like they're answering the wrong questions when it comes to masculinity and what it's really about. It's not about being tough or soft or whatever it is. Physically, I guess, or whatever you might say.
Emotionally, yeah.
But yeah, with this podcast, I just hope to be able to share some of my story, for you to be able to share some of your story, and the things that we've done wrong, the things that we've done right, and not to come with this idea that we have all the answers, but to come with the hearts that we're learning alongside the rest of the world. And we've chosen to be on this pursuit towards true masculinity and to be able to help others out there. We're going through the terrible things that we encounter in this world. The world's full of a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of ugly things. And so we want to be there. You and I, we want to be there for our brothers. We want to learn alongside them. We want to teach them. And we want to try to be here for each other and inspire others to be there for their friends. Because that's how this is going to work. You have to choose to live your life for those around you.
There's a story in the Bible, and you know it. I've talked to you about it. And there was a king, and he was very arrogant, narcissistic, and he built a statue of himself. He made the head out of gold, torso out of silver, and the legs out of lead, but he messed up and made the feet out of clay. And eventually, the weight of the upper part of the statue squashed the clay, and it all came tumbling down. And our feet are all made of clay. And that's something that we have to take into consideration when we look at where we are now and where we want to be. I think that going back to what you said about how there's not a true answer to masculinity. There's a true masculine way, but it looks different in each one of us. I always took you have to be aggressive, you have to be hard in order to be a man. You can't let things affect you. I know other men that they're more on the sensitive side. And I always kind of looked down on that. I thought that was being weak. And in some instances, it can be you're being weak because you're being overly sensitive. Two different things. And upon further reflection from some of the things that DJ did and said, he didn't just say a lot of things, he showed the way in a lot of instances. There is the ability in every man to lead, even the one that you call weak, you call a wimp, you make fun of. Yeah, everyone has something that is a flaw in someone else's eyes. Doesn't mean they're not valuable. They don't have something to offer. And as brothers in Christ, we have to recognize that. And if one of our brothers is drowning in a sense, or not stepping up, not owning up, it's our responsibility as brothers to say, hey, you have more to offer. I think Jordan Peterson talks about this. To be told that you're not living up to your potential means that it means a whole lot. It means that someone can see you, they can see you having something in the future being far greater than you are at this moment, but know you're capable of it. And I think that is a love in some ways. It can be very humbling. Um, you've done it to me several times, Micah. You have kicked my ass so many times and pushed me in ways spiritually, emotionally, physically. Um, and I hope I've returned the favor. I'm always willing to. I always think you're worthy of a good swift kick in the asshole, but hey, that's what friends are for.
Oh yeah.
You have any more to add?
I think that you are getting it right on the head. A lot of what the world needs is just people willing to stand up, men calling out other men to rise up, calling them out of complacency, of passivity, calling each other out of addiction, calling each other out of laziness, gluttony, all those things that bring us down. I think that's what you're saying when we need a swift kick in the ass.
Amen to that.
You know, yeah, we all have places. We all have places in our lives that we need to stand up and walk away from. Yeah.
I think recently you and I have kind of embarked on a journey together, trying to get in shape.
Physically, yeah.
Physically, yeah.
Our bodies are a temple. I don't remember where that is in the scriptures, but our
I
bodies
think
are a
it's
temple.
several times in the scriptures.
It's
Our
important
bodies
to
are
keep in mind.
tabernacles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, got on the scale. I was the heaviest I'd ever been, and hopefully ever will be. Um, I guess I'll own it. It'll be on record. I was 248.67 pounds. And normally, heavy for me is 220. And again, I can give you multiple uh, possible reasons for that. It doesn't matter, right? Like, I had let myself go. And, you know, things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do. Future goals weren't going to be a possibility if I kept continuing down that path. And, I don't know where Micah was at. That's for him to share. But a few weeks ago, what made you want to do this?
Yeah, I definitely was the heaviest or around the heaviest I had been. I was certainly the heaviest I had been for such a long period of time. There was times in the past where I had gotten up there in the weight and then gone back down. But I had been this heavy for over a year. And I'm smaller in stature than you. I'm shorter, so my heaviest was like 215. But that's a lot for me because I'm not as tall as you are. And I got a new job about a month ago, and number one, just the job helped me start losing weight. And once I started losing weight, I got excited about it. And then you called me up, like, hey, I want to start training. So then I got more serious about it. I started working even harder and skipping lunches at work. And I'll tell you what, one of the biggest motivations is getting married in December. That having that coming up soon gets you really motivated to shed some weight, look good in those wedding photos. And
Absolutely.
you want to be taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
You know, you want to be able to be proud of yourself. Yeah, and so
And the thought of
that's been a big
kids,
motivation. That's been a big motivation for me. What's that?
I said, in the thought of having kids, what kind of father do you want to be? Do you want to be the fat father who can't, play with your kids and chase them around and, you know, teach them the basic schematics of the world, you know, that
Right.
is directly related to the father and their ability to rough and tumble play with their kids. So again, big things to think about. I mean, we're 21, and to be overweight, unfortunately, it's very common in the US, but it doesn't have to be. And that's another whole podcast series that we're going to try and do is, our journey and things that we're doing and new things that we want to do to stay in shape and, you know, test ourselves. Um, I think both of us at the beginning of this were struggling psychologically with this
Yeah. Yeah.
because we were at a place physically just months previously and we'd lost it. Me, probably more so than you, had lost it. Yeah, and that's frustrating. It's kind of scary. You have no one to blame but yourself, which is the most humbling and asinine place to be because you so desperately want to. Oh, it's this injury, it's this injury. I had one of my former jobs, a medic that I worked with, and he's former special ops, crazy guy, short, looks like a dwarf with a beard. Um, Nice, honest guy though, and having a conversation. And I wasn't yet at my heaviest, but I was headed that way, and he saw it and he called it. And, in a very DJ-esque like way, he's like, you want to do this? What's stopping you? Oh, this. Like, that's excuses, man. Only you can do what you want to do. Only you can prevent yourself from doing that. And he says, I'm gonna be honest with you. You're fat. I was like, he's so right. And it was a wake up call, and I tried to work on it, and I just didn't succeed. And again, as men, we're not going to always succeed, and it's not about failure. You know, I used to teach archery at the summer camp Mike and I worked at, and one of the cool lessons we had was, what is sin? Archery is a perfect example. Sin comes from the Latin word for archery, meaning missing the target. And you know, when you're learning the technique of archery, right? I couldn't care less as your instructor whether or not you'd hit the target in a week. We only have a week to work with you. I just care about you getting the technique right and you keep trying after each miss. And I think that relates to life, We're going to make mistakes. We're imperfect. Um, it's not something you can just shrug off, oh, I made a mistake. It's fine. I can just try again tomorrow. No, it's not a mistake if you don't learn from it. Um, and if you keep trying and you keep making the same mistake, what's the saying? If you make the same mistake once, it's an accident. Make it twice, you're a fool. Yeah. And when it comes to your body, when it comes to your friendships, it comes to your relationships, you know, hopefully you're in a place where your relationships are a lot more forgiving than, other places in your life. But sometimes it's down to one mistake, and then, the best thing that ever could possibly have happened to you is gone, and you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You getting
Sin
tired
is
there?
tough. No, no, I'm doing good.
No?
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about what you said. Yeah. Yeah. Sin is no joke, man. Sin is painful and it's tough. But it's like you're saying, you got to keep getting back up, and you need other people in your life to help you up.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just actually listening to a Jocko podcast earlier today. It was, you know, very much along those lines. I don't want to get into copyright issues, but find your group of men. If you're a guy, if you're a girl, I mean, not going to discriminate against who watches these videos. Just don't think girls really care about two hooligans talking, but and he's married, so sorry, ladies. He's the pretty one, so. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, ladies, this is important to know. When you're in a relationship with a guy, a friendship with a guy, and they're struggling, and they need help, and it comes down to something that is a very masculine issue, there's not much that you can do other than point it out. And honestly, he may not have any clue that there's an issue. That was the case with me. The thing is it's something that other men have, you know, a better ability to help with. Um, I don't know if your church does this. Mine does, where a lot of the talks are split up into male female, because there's just some things that men need to have wiser, older, not always wiser, but men to help. Same thing
Yeah.
with girls. There's certain things that you shouldn't be seeking advice from a guy. There's no shame in that. Be
Yeah.
willing to stand up and say, hey, who do you have that can help you with this?
Yeah. Certainly. Yeah. We'll definitely do an episode in the future about having a core group of guys and
Mm,
what that really means. I think that'd be a good conversation to have.
absolutely.
One we need to have. I mean, we're not going to make it through life alone. We're not going to make it.
What was that?
I said we're not going to make it through life alone.
Uh-uh.
We're
Nope.
not going to make it if we try to do it alone.
It's not
It won't
possible.
just be harder. We just simply won't make it. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was going to bring up a story, but that's fine. Going through life
Yeah.
alone. Um, I'll just say this, Mike and I have in the last year gone on, a couple journeys that weren't planned. Driving home through a dust storm, it's one of those things you
Yeah.
don't want to go through it alone. I mean, that was sort of scary, not gonna lie. It was exciting, and to have no one else to share that with, you know, what's the point of that?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Concluding remarks. Mike, you want to go first?
Concluding remarks. Number one, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the conversations we're going to have. I'm excited for people who are going to listen, even if it's just one, even if it's two, even if it's 20 or 2,000. You know, however many people listen, I'm excited for it because I hope that they slash you, if you're watching, will be inspired to seek out those older men in your life. And for those men that are already in your life, your friends, make them your brothers. You know, seek out for them, give your time to them, look out for them. And so I'm excited to see a community of men around the world slowly starting to wake up and open up their eyes and be there for each other.
With that, I'm going to add, for those of you who are in a spot where you're not happy, you feel lost, you feel incomplete. Maybe you are tired, exhausted mentally, spiritually, physically, and maybe you're dealing with some psychological struggle of some sort. Maybe it's a relationship issue. Maybe it's a number of things where you're not living up to your full potential. You're not alone, one. Two, stop seeking affirmation from others, right? That's the killer. Stop seeking to find yourself in others. The only one that you can find it in is in God. Hold yourself accountable for all your actions. Surround yourself with others who want the best for you and nothing but the best for you. Let go of relationships that are dragging you back. Fight for the relationships that are at a standstill. Because more often than not, they're at a standstill because of you. If you're a man, own it. Be the best you possibly can be for you, for God, and for the love of your life. And keep fighting. Keep fighting for you. You are worth every agonizing second of it. It's scary, but you'll get through it. God bless.